Oh, it's fun. It's really nice, and it's got a good feel to it. So.
These people are creating homes that could last for centuries. Today, they are called non-conventional homes. So what exactly is a non-conventional home? It's a home built using traditional, environment-friendly materials combined with passive solar designs to create energy-efficient living environments. Since the mid-1970s, Rick Horton of Mudlark Building Services has been building alternative, environment-friendly houses and helping owner-builders. His work has been recognised internationally. He was an advisor on earth building in Africa recently.
Yeah, this house is near Taree, and it's built from the materials, the bush timbers from the block, and second-hand building materials, mostly big beams which came from the railways. They're all old bridge timbers which we've dressed up. Walter Duber put them through his planer on site here, and we ended up with enough mulch to mulch the whole garden. And then the structure of the roof was put up first, the whole structure with the big poles. All the trees were got from the site within several hundred metres of the house and cut down, barked and towed to the site. When the frame was up, we bought the mud bricks from Marlee. They were made nearby, and started laying the bricks here. The mud bricks are bitumen stabilised. They're stabilised with it's about 200 mils of bitumen per brick, so it's quite cheap. It works out about 10 cents a brick to stabilise them using bitumen emulsion, and that means that you don't have the problems that you have with stabilising bricks with cement. Cement stabilised bricks tend to absorb a lot of moisture, and you can get lots of problems later on with cement stabilised soils if they're not treated properly. The mud bricks here are laid in a soil from Lansdowne, which is actually volcanic topsoil. Makes a really good soft soil to lay, and it shrinks very quickly and then stops shrinking, so that the walls settle very quickly, so you don't have ongoing problems of the walls settling. The mud bricks that we make here are made out of clay and straw with no stabilisation at all. The bricks are poured into the mould, as you see with the tractor, and smoothed off, and the mud left in the moulds for about a day or so, and then the moulds are pulled off, relaid on smooth ground and filled again. And it takes about 2 to 3 weeks for the bricks to dry, enough to be stacked, maybe 4 weeks in this weather, and then they're left on the pallets for another 3 to 4 weeks before they're delivered.
This 2-storey mud brick and pole frame home has some interesting features, including an 8-metre high curved internal mud brick staircase and a glass roof on the northeast corner. There are wonderful cathedral ceilings and LED light windows in many of the rooms. The house was 4 years in the making, and a ramp to the entryway makes the building accessible for disabled or aged people. This contemporary style post and beam mud brick solar efficient house is on a beach block. Designed for retirement and featured in Owner Builder magazine, the house incorporates the many requirements of the older person, such as wide doorways, ramps, wheelchair access to kitchen and bathrooms, and, most importantly, low maintenance. Builder Gavin Scott of Earthbound Design and Construct used sustainably harvested timbers and minimum termite risk protection methods in the construction. This 180 square metre post and beam mud brick home has taken 12 months to build, with the owners very involved in all stages. It was designed in close collaboration with the owners and local craftsperson Gavin Scott, and features Gavin's workmanship and favoured organic shapes. The structure consists of termite-resistant cypress posts and blue gum beams with cypress lining boards in the open-plan living area and araucaria on bedroom ceilings. Ripoline has been used effectively on wet area ceilings and on the front of the impressive kitchen bench. Recycled windows and doors have been used where possible, with LED light, glass blocks and an alcove along the wide hallway, creating interesting features. The puddled mud bricks have been manufactured by Steve Dodd in Bellingen, and are designed to be a feature mud brick needing no bagging. Tassie oak flooring, natural look tiles and Tassie oak kitchen, built by Gavin, complement the mud bricks effectively. The split floor levels and north-facing clerestory windows help to achieve passive solar benefits which, in combination with the south-facing courtyard and large verandas at opposing ends of the building, create a temperate and well-ventilated environment. Grant Calvin of Solid Earth Constructions has been making rammed earth homes since 1995, a technique he developed from Western Australia.
Well, this is a piece of our formwork here. As you can see, it's a timber face. It's got a steel back on it. And the ramming process is very, very strong. There's a lot of hydraulic forces in there. It tends to bend these things if we haven't got enough bolts through it. As you can see on the formwork, there's a bolt every 100 millimetres. What we do is we mix up a road-based gravel with a bit of cement using the Bobcat. We put it in to a depth of about 200 millimetres, and then we ram it down till it's 100 millimetres thick. So here we go. Here are the layers, 1, 2, 3, 4. What it does is give the material a real grainy look, and no two of them are the same. One of the nicest part about ramming earth on a house is that every morning you strip the formwork, you've got something a little bit different.
This rammed earth home is light, airy and very comfortable, providing incredible insulation through the extremes of both summer and winter. The split level design follows the northeast slope. Passive solar features include a sun space with slate and central rammed earth wall that acts as a heat bank in winter. A viewing gallery with timber floor looks out through the clerestory windows over the living room to the escarpment to the north. Below the gallery, a cellar makes use of deep earth temperatures. Practical and decorative features include extensive use of local hardwood supplied by local sawmillers and liberal use of plants, ferns and rainwater ponds to help the living space breathe.
Okay, well this is a bit of the leftover material from the building of our house. You can see it's quite rocky and it's got a limited content of clay. If you wanted to get technical, you'd look at about 35% stone, up to about 40 millimetres in diameter. Then you've got sands. The sands you want in the region of 30 to 50% sand. And then the clays, you want them 20% or less. So that's a bit of a description of what you want. So once we'd finished building the house, Catherine wanted to put some gardens in around the house. So we experimented with building a few garden walls with rammed earth. They weather a little bit, but I think they just look really good. As you can see, it's nice and solid, and it makes a beautiful feature in any garden. This is one of our sample blocks, but I think it makes a pretty good sculpture as well.
Solar design is really important to get the best from the sun and to save energy costs. Heating your house in wintertime can be quite expensive, and cooling it in summertime using air conditioning is very expensive. And if you can orientate your house so that you get the benefit of the sun in the wintertime and exclude all the sun in the summertime, you've gone halfway to covering the costs of heating and cooling your house. Add to that insulation, good areas of glass to the north so that you get sun absorption in the wintertime, and houses like this one here and several others in the area don't need any heating costs at all, very little heating costs at all, except for long cold snaps where there's no sun, and certainly don't need any air conditioning to cool the house in summer.
Kevin and Cheryl's poured earth and mud brick home took 20 months of full-time building before it could be occupied. The pole frame was able to accommodate an upstairs sleeping area. Natural timber shapes also feature in this home.
We spent 2 years, Cheryl and I, building the house. So that was pretty well full-time. Used a lot of recycled timbers and windows, things from garage sales. It's facing north. The idea is we wanted to get lots of light into the house. That was a real priority. To have an upstairs as well, clerestory windows up top and also down the bottom here. So we did a slab on the ground, poured earth at the front there and timber upstairs. We did a mixture with the mud bricks and poured earth. The mud bricks were good, like you can go around a corner there or you can fit in tight spaces. Poured earth was really good. I mean, it's just got long straight runs between a couple of poles. So yeah,
Taking a formwork
they blend in well with each other, and it's a lot more fun laying bricks and pouring earth. It's faster, but it's just like hard labour, whereas the bricks are more creative and interesting to use.
Easter 1999 saw 3 generations of the Stone family stand the very first posts of their post and beam and compressed earth block house. This 200 square metre, 3-bedroom house was designed by Walter and Gisela Duber and is constructed of new and recycled hardwood posts and beams, locally made hardwood trusses and compressed earth bricks made on site by James Glover of Glover's Earth Brick Company. A dam was excavated on the property and the clay found was used to form the bricks, which were stabilised with 10% cement. The same clay was used for mortar, with approximately 40% sand added. Recycled windows and doors have been used throughout, a feature being lead-light casement windows salvaged from an old mansion in the Hunter Valley.
Wattle and daub may sound old-fashioned, but in this home the method is spectacular.
What we wanted to achieve with this design was to strike a balance of stone, timber and earth. The stone obviously being the foundation and the fireplace. Then the timber makes up the frame. With the timber also goes a lot of the traditional joinery that we incorporated, like the mortises and tenons, and that's then plugged. And the scarf joints. The earth is then used as a fill-in. The fill-in is called wattle and daub, meaning there's basically a weaving of twigs. People used anything from oak to wattle to willow, even rope, used that as a carrier, and then the mud was plastered on. Then later on, a fine lime mortar is put over the top, and then you sort of see the white of the mud and usually the black of the timber. That's what people associate to the typical Tudor style.
Walter Duber has featured his environment-friendly homes on the tour for many years, including this finalist in the 1999 Housing Industry Association Awards for custom-built homes. The main features here are the spotted gum floor at a 45-degree angle and exposed iron bark rafters with cypress pine lining boards, and the angled top windows letting in that winter sun. The kitchen is made of recycled Oregon. 4 bifold doors open out onto an enclosed veranda. This makes screen doors obsolete. This whole area is the more social part of the house, slightly elevated on piers with a comfortable, generous sense of space. As you enter the library lounge, the mood changes. It seems a more grounded space on a raft slab. Still the exposed beams. This is a space for contemplation, to wind down, and to listen to good music. Here's a pole frame home that houses a family comfortably in 3 bedrooms on the mezzanine level with a practical shed and workspace below. The north-facing living area captures creek glimpses and wonderful mountain views stretching beyond the 160-acre property. Poles from the property have been used in the home's construction, complementing the practical wooden polished floors and wealth of recycled material. Set on 3 timbered acres, this home is 80% complete and ideal for a prospective owner-builder who wants to see the building processes still underway. It's a basic post and beam mud brick home with 3 bedrooms, a veranda all the way round, brick footings and timber floors. The rake ceilings have exposed rafters lined with Tasmanian oak and pine. High attic-style windows face to the north. Both the internal and external non-load-bearing walls have been handmade on the site from light-coloured mud bricks made over the last couple of years. Karen will tell you how she and her partner achieved the feat.
We had the dam dug out, and then we had all the dirt transferred into these piles, and we scratch it down with the pick, put in the wheelbarrows, and then transfer it into here. We put water over it overnight, a couple of bucket loads of water, and then in the morning I come down and I transfer it into the wheelbarrow and then take it up there and make mud bricks. Okay, you wet the mould so that the mud doesn't stick to the mould, because otherwise you won't be able to lift the mould off the brick. If you find your mud's a bit dry, I'll just get the watering can, give it a little bit of a soak, mix it up again. Find the mud's very easy to work with. When you know you've made a mistake is when if you've made it too dry, your brick, it's really hard to get your mould off. And if you've made it too wet, then your brick bulges. But there's a lot of give in between, a lot of leeway with the consistency of your mud. You punch it down so that the air gets out of it, otherwise you've got little air pockets and your brick doesn't look as nice.
How many bricks can you make in a day then?
I can comfortably make 30 bricks in a day and come back the next day and make another 30 bricks. And I just keep on doing that. I find in winter it's easier to make the bricks. You can just lift the mould off very slowly. No, this one's a bit dry. Just pop it down. No problem. In summer you find that the bricks are inclined to crack very quickly when they're drying. So I just run over the crack with my hand and it seals it up. So you don't lose all these lovely bricks that you've worked really, really hard to make. Because once you've made them, you don't want to go around and make them again, because it's hard work. I've made most of the bricks in the house, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. And any bricks that don't work out, all you do is just recycle them. You put them back in and make another brick. Okay. Much better. And then all you've got to do is make 3,000 or 4,000 of those and you've got a house.
This 3-bedroom mud brick and timber home was owner-built by Phil Smith. The home features a sealed earth floor in an open-plan living dining area.
This is a poured earth floor, and the way I did it was, to start with, I put a layer of broken bricks, about 200 millimetres of broken bricks. Then on top of that, I filled it in with some crusher dust, about 50 millimetres of crusher dust. And then on top of that, I put a layer of plastic, black plastic, as if you're going to be laying a concrete slab. And then what I did was I laid sections of mud bricks to make a pattern. And then inside each pattern, I mixed up an amount of mud, which was mostly soil and a bit of cement. And I had a few fellows helping me, one on the mixer, one on the wheelbarrow, and I was inside troweling it out because it went off fairly quickly. And so I did a section at a time, and we just poured it all in. And when it dried, which was about, I think it took about a month to actually dry enough to seal. And I used this product called Solpar oil, which they normally use to seal bricks with. I used a few coats of that, and then once a year for a few years after that I put another coat. And that seems to be working very well. These are handmade mud bricks we used to make the house with. We used, this is the soil that was used from the excavation they made to make the house. They took the topsoil off, which was about a foot of material, and then they took 2 feet, and the next 2 feet off underneath, and that's what we used to make the mud bricks with. They've got some cement in. We had to send off a sample to the CSIRO, and they tested it, and they recommended that we put a certain amount of cement in, which we did, and this is the result.
The second living area and bedrooms have high ceilings and exposed beams that lead to an eco-friendly owner-built composting toilet.
This is the working part of our composting toilet. There's 2 chambers here, and when you go to the toilet up there and put the sawdust in, it goes into the first chamber and the composts. And the family of 5 which we have, I have to empty it out about 2 or 3 times a year. We use it to fertilise all our fruit trees out there, and it's made out of quite cheaply out of Besser blocks, and it's quite easy maintenance.
The owners of this home have installed a Daumus wet composting toilet and reed bed system to make the best use of their black and grey water.
The waste system from home is basically a standard standard plumbing system. The waste leaves our house and gravity flows down to a wet composting system. The tank itself is just a standard concrete tank. The only difference is that our tank does not hold water. The solids remain, and the water just flows through all the levels of filtering layers. The main primary filtering layer was peat moss. Underneath that, a layer of heavy shade cloth. Underneath the shade cloth, there's cut up sections of ag pipe, and they basically make up the 3 filter layers. The water then flows down to the second system, which is our reed bed system. The water actually enters the inlet side and falls to the base of the reed bed. Now, the idea of the reed bed is it's another filtering system. Any small solids that do come in there, the reeds themselves actually trap the solids and feed on them. The other purpose of them is that they aerate the water. For them to survive, they must coat their roots with oxygen, and the microbes actually live on the surface of those roots. And so the basic principle of the reed bed is an aerated system, so an aerobic system. From there it basically flows out the outlet side into a polishing pond. The polishing pond must be an open sort of area where maximum amount of sunlight can fall on it. In time I would like to extend that with flow forms all the way back down into the pond, and from there the polishing pond will be an irrigation source for an orchard, and hopefully if the levels of bacteria in that are low enough, or there is non-existent, I'd like to bring it back to actually recycle back to flush the toilet.
This nursery has a very interesting water recycling system.
Our nursery, Dingo Creek Rainforest Nursery, is an environmental nursery where we grow rainforest plants as well as plants for bushland regeneration, including a whole lot of different communities, heathland right through to rainforest. The idea of the nursery is to conserve water, not use any chemicals, and we make our own fertilisers for our fertilising program. These swales are all designed so that the water from that side and that side flow into the middle, and it all flows down into our recycling ponds. The water we recycle, when we do that by catching the water on benches and in gutters, and they all flow into ponds, and the water from the ponds is then pumped up to a holding tank where we mix in the homemade fertilisers, and then it's gravity fed down to the nursery and hand watered onto the nursery.
Kevin's 10-acre block is a food forest with well-established permaculture gardens.
Well, this is the first area I started working on, and basically it's a sloping hill, and it was initially just fruit trees scattered throughout the place. They did pretty poorly, and then so I started mounting them up and terracing the slope, and later on started introducing other species too, like some nitrogen fixing trees, a pigeon pea. We started a bit backwards, putting the fruit trees in first when there's really poor soil, and they suffered a lot until I started building them up and mulching, and now they're coming good now. The guava's just starting to fruit at the moment. They've got a few of the fruit fly in it, so I've allowed these stinking Rogers to come up. I've heard somewhere that they're supposed to be deterrent. I'm giving them a go. I don't know if it's going to work yet or not. And there's a lot of sweet potato growing around underneath the trees. That's a pretty good ground cover. Except if it gets too dry, it sort of tends to soak up a lot of moisture out of the soil. But now there's a lot of shade, it's working okay. These are the ladyfingers, these ones. So they're a lot taller, and makes it difficult to bag actually. So, but you know that's and they're fairly slow growing in this area. These paths here took a lot of work to get them cleared and sort of contoured a little bit, but I've recently put a lot of old recycled oil, like cooking oil from the fish shop and what have you, and basically that's just keeping the water out. So it's also stopping any grass or weeds from growing in there. So it just any water that lands on here just automatically runs straight off onto the gardens. I think this is the first ice cream bean I put in, Iinga it's called, and it's got a huge amount of fruit on it. The kids like to eat that white pulp that's around the seeds. And but basically it's a great tree for fixing nitrogen. This is another area we started afterwards, and there's a lot of Bana grass, as you can see. It's good. It was good because there was nothing much growing here when we first moved on, so it was something to get up, and it's mulch and good cow feed. Now it just requires a lot of maintenance, so it's sort of like having to mow the lawns, cutting the Bana grass down. We've got a couple of beds formed up here, and I've got a new one starting off. Basically it's just the grass has been slashed, limed, and then I'll probably get a load of sawdust or sort of from the horse stables, put that down, and then just basically turn over the pathway, dig the path up and put the path on top of the bed, and just let it rot down for a month or two before anything else happens.
Even in this, the 21st century, the pinnacle of the information technology age, interest in non-conventional, environment-friendly building continues to grow.
In a time with a much stronger individual consciousness, it is even more important that somehow reflects in the buildings and the spaces that we live in. May it be through art, or the way we design, the way we build, the materials that we choose. Rather than using the materials or whatever is on the shelf. We kind of limit ourselves to that. And I think these homes, they show that you can do so much more. It's letting our own creativity be part of this whole process. And that, in the end, then becomes a true reflection of ourselves.